they're in control. Man, that looks great.
Jets, Jets, Jets! Oh my God, it's so beautiful. 78 degrees, Jets football, and we're winning. That's what's going on today. That's why everybody's so psyched. This isn't no happenstance. This is a guarantee, just like Joe Namath said. See that?
There are few things in life you cannot put a price on. Loyalty, tradition, fierce passion. Today is a gigantic family reunion because finally, they're back.
Look at that. Why did it mute me? Sorry about that. It's the best way to start. I always love starting on mute. Good morning, everybody. I am GreenBean, and this is Good Morning Jets, and where every morning is a wonderful, positive, upbeat New York Jets morning, trying to look at the positive side of things throughout all of our disappointment. Jet Engine started us off with a good morning to you, Jet Engine, and Twisted popped in. That's right, good morning, followed by Jimmy and our UK representative, Phil Adams, out there saying hello to you, my friend. Robbie Rhino is here alongside of our good buddy, Harry. So I think what Harry's alluding to, there is a poll question up there in the poll of the chat, and you can take a swing at which one of those guys you think should be the primary free agent. We'll discuss that. We'll take a look at the more entailed look at our list of free agents that we got to make decisions on. We have 27 of them, guys. I mentioned it in this week's GreenBean's Jets pod and dug into it a little bit, but we'll bounce it over to you guys today and see what you think. Now, look, I know there's only 4 slots for the poll. So people always say, "Hey, where's the other guy? I wanted this guy." I get it, but there's only 4. I think those 4 are pretty good. They're up near the top. A lot of people are talking about them. We have Bryce Huff, who I think is way up there on the list of primary free agents to re-sign. We have an interesting one, George Fant, whether or not we want to keep him around throughout all the injuries. I mean, look, he had 2 good seasons and an injury-plagued season, right? Bounced from left to right. A lot went on last year for George Fant. No matter how you slice it, the idea that he would be paid like a top left tackle in the NFL might have lessened somewhat. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But he's on there along with Quincy Williams and Quan Alexander. I hear lots of people talking about Quan, so we'll get into him a little bit as well. Jay-Z Jets fan, that's right. Well, we wake up together now, right? That's what we try to do alongside of Jets Forever. Isn't it nice to know that you wake up right with Jets Forever? Isn't that nice? It's a nice thing to do. The Twitter sphere is going nuts with a story that we'll talk about. Good morning, Ant Jets. Good morning, Kenya Sawyer. Who else? Up for Debate is back with Scoop. What's up, Scoop? It's nice to see you. Now let's talk about this tweet that came out yesterday. Interestingly enough, I made a little video about Nathaniel Hackett, and I added this guy to it as the 2 guys with the most experience on the list of offensive coordinators. But guys, it looks like Darrell Bevell is off the market for at least the New York Jets and the Washington Commanders. Now, there's no official word that he's definitely staying in Miami, but Tom Pelissero reported the Dolphins passing game coordinator / quarterback coach Darrell Bevell informed the Jets and Commanders he's declining an interview for their offensive coordinator jobs per sources. Bevel is a well-respected and figures to have other opportunities in this cycle, but as of now, he plans to stay in Miami. Now, like it says there, I mean, there's very little firm idea there other than the fact that he more than likely did turn down the two teams for the offensive coordinator interview. But it doesn't say if he's definitely staying in Miami or if he's just not interested in our offensive coordinator job along with the Commanders. Now, look, we've talked about this ad nauseum at this point, but it bears mentioning that the New York Jets offensive coordinator position might not be the most attractive spot. Sure, we have some nice players on the offense. Sure, that comes with arguably a top 5 defense in the NFL. So there's lots of positives around here. But the very cold, hard truth is we don't have a quarterback. Our offensive line was injured, but in shambles at the end of the year. So we have a lot of work to do there. And no one knows just how firm Robert Saleh really is. I mean, at the halfway point last year, Robert Saleh was in the discussion for Robert Saleh was in the discussion for Coach of the Year, right? He was in the discussion for Coach of the Year. That has since subsided slightly with the collapse at the end of the season. Even by Jets standards, the collapse was epic in nature, even by our very painful standards, right? We have lower standards than most as far as what to expect. And that was still pretty bad. So Darrell Bevell says no. And again, the Commanders' job, I mean, look, who do they have? They don't have a quarterback. They've been trying to get a quarterback for years. I mean, they got Wentz. He played well at times. They have Heineke. So we don't know what the Washington quarterback situation is either. And the Jets, we have no idea. It could be Lamar Jackson. It could be Aaron Rodgers. It could be Derek Carr. It could be Gardner Minshew. It could be Mike White. It could be, while I think it's a slim chance, it could be Zach Mother effing Wilson. Now, wouldn't that be something? And that's the thing. So whoever this guy coming along is, the Jets are saying, hey, you got to develop this kid that's clearly been led astray here. I mean, he's out in the woods, man. We got to find this young man and bring him back and see if we can't squeeze something out of this one. So that's part of the job. So, guys, I'm just going to say it. As much as we hope to get one of the top offensive coordinators out there, there is a lot not to like about our job. Now, look, and you add to this, what if Woody Johnson? Now, I like to hold on to the belief that Joe Douglas, since the Adam Gase firing, when he was finally made the sole general manager, which we haven't seen here in a very, very long time, the coach and the GM were at equal levels for years, a decade or more around here. So the fact that they made Joe Douglas the boss, I'm choosing to believe that he runs the football operations, right? But our owner has been known to meddle. And if the firing of LaFleur was prompted by Woody Johnson, that shit's going to leak out too into the football world. And they'll know. I mean, the agents will know. They'll talk to each other and they'll say, hey, man, well, what happened with LaFleur? Did they just decide to get rid of him, or did the owner step in and kick the doors down and demand shit that doesn't make sense or whatever? And if he did, that's also going to be another knock on the job. So it's going to be real interesting to see. But I got to be honest, guys, Darrell Bevell was my number one. It started with Greg Olsen. I was hoping Greg Olsen would come over, especially if we're going to get Derek Carr. Thought that would be a great mix. But then Darrell Bevell, as soon as you start looking at the guys, Darrell Bevell was the clear top choice from my perspective. The experience, just everything he brought to the table, very high levels of success in numerous markets, numerous quarterbacks, all that stuff. So, and then you look at Tua last year until the concussions, man, Tua was looking fantastic. So that could be attributed to Bevell as well. No matter how you slice it, he's gone. He's off the list. And doesn't that suck? And we haven't even heard guys like Olsen, we haven't heard his name on the list. So we don't know. Right now we have losers like Nick Caley, the tight ends coach from the New England Patriots, which is just, I don't know, man. To me, why, again, I've said it a couple times by now, but why are we going to offer the offensive coordinator job to a guy that they didn't offer the offensive coordinator job to, and they didn't have one? They didn't have one. And he's been there for 7 years at that point. You think they know what he's got in the tank, right? No, they brought in Matt Patricia, a defensive coordinator, and said, let's let him run it. So I don't know. Oh, well, this is good. EF. Now, look, we've talked about this. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. We haven't heard that he's going to be interviewed, but our own Coach Middleton, the tight ends coach here, like if we're going to go hire the tight end coach from the New England Patriots, why not give it right to Coach Middleton? I have to believe the entire team loves him. They do. We love him. He's been head coach here for a game. He won that game. He was head coach at the Senior Bowl. He won that game. Looked very, very good. Now, it's a very, very small sample size, but we know we love the guy. And if we're going to just do that, now I'd have to believe that the whole team loves him, so why not? We just don't know what his play calling acumen really is. We don't know if his expertise is just working one-on-one with the guys. We don't know if we can put him in a higher position and have him, rise to any success. We don't know. So that would be interesting, though. I would be delighted if they did that. Honestly, wouldn't you? I'd be like, good. Keep it all in-house. That would insinuate that LaFleur was the issue. The only problem I see with that, EF, is that if they were going to do that, wouldn't they keep John Benton, the offensive line coach? Like, why toss that into the air? So I don't know. It would be it'd be fun to see that, though. Arbiv checking in. Thank you for the super chat this morning, Arbiv. The offensive coordinator job may not be attractive to candidates if it is required to role pair with another senior offensive voice in the room, as Salah said. Yeah, well, so is that what you're talking about with John Benton? Is that what you mean with John Benton? Let me see. I'm going to try to candidate if it is required to role pair with another. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that makes a ton of sense. But I'm just saying, so if they were going to put Middleton up, and I think you put this chat out there before the Middleton thing came up. So not that this is in response to that, but I think that would be a hit against the idea that Middleton was going to be elevated to offensive coordinator, because in my opinion, they would be more likely just to keep the rest of the coaches in place. And John Benton, he did a good job, man. He was handed chopped meat and figured out a way to make sirloin steak, New York strips out of it. So, you got to think about that. But I will say, if they are definitely bringing in an outside candidate, it makes a boatload of sense to get rid of the the offensive line coach. And we already know the wide receivers coach by default is out too, because he's suspended for whatever the gambling thing is with him. So we know, man. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. But I'll tell you what, Bevel being off the list, I'd be very curious if he took another job as an offensive coordinator. I would be upset. I would be bent. I'd be bent out of shape, because we don't know. But anyway, so there's that. Darrell Bevel is off the list. See a few of your comments on this subject before we move on. Wester Unchained. Greg Olson only called plays after Gruden resigned. Not so much play calling experience there too. Oh no, he called plays for numerous. He was offensive coordinator numerous times. I gotta go look at notes here. Let me see. Greg Olson. Let's see. Greg Olson. He worked. He was with the Raiders more than once. So let's see. Yeah, he was with the Bears, the Panthers, the Seahawks. Oh no! What the fuck am I doing? I'm like, that doesn't sound right at all. Wait. Let's see. Okay. Bear with me. Yeah, he's been coaching for a long time, man. Let's see. So, all right. I'll go through the list with you, all right? Once he was the offensive coordinator for Central Washington. Let me see. Yeah. So he started in the 1990s. He was already calling plays for college ball. Idaho, he was a quarterback coach. Purdue, he was a quarterback coach. Niners, he came on as a quarterback coach. Purdue, tight ends coach and recruiting coordinator. Chicago Bears, quarterback coach. Detroit Lions for 2 years, offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. Rams, offensive coordinator in 2006 and 7. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he replaced Paul Hackett, Nathaniel Hackett's dad, down there in 2008. Then he was a quarterback coach there, but then he took over the offensive coordinator job. Then he was the assistant head coach and quarterback coach with the Jags. Then he was the offensive coordinator with the Raiders in 2013 and 14. Then with the Jaguars, 2015 and 16. Then he was the quarterback coach for the Rams in 2017, went back to the Raiders as the offensive coordinator in 2018 and 21. And that's what you're referencing. John Gruden was calling the plays, and Olsen was required, I would imagine, to help create the offense and that whole thing. And then he called the plays once Gruden was fired. And then now he's with the Rams. So, I mean, Greg Olsen, dude, he's been there, done that, man. He's coached numerous quarterbacks, numerous organizations. He's been with numerous teams more than once. So teams have rehired this guy. So that's something to remember. I said, look, for me, I think the main idea for me is that we get somebody that's not doing this for the first time. You know what I mean? Bring in somebody in here who's never done it before. Now we're going to bring in a vet quarterback. We have Jets guys that are already here. They had a bad year with our quarterback situations. You got Garrett Wilson, you got Mims, you got Elijah Moore, you got Michael Carter and Breece Hall, all these guys that probably look at last year's offensive struggles as quarterback issues, man. Trust me when I tell you. Like, they know how often they're open. They know it. They know it. They're watching the film. They're playing the game. They're looking at it and they're saying, damn, if I had a quarterback that could hit me. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you right now, because I watched the tape and I see it. So I know that they're probably looking at last year's failures. They might have issues with LaFleur. Of course, he had his issues. But they probably also know that if they had a quarterback that was just average, they would have had a different season. So if you bring in a first-time offensive coordinator that's still looking around like, he's still got to make all his mistakes, then you bring in a Derek Carr or somebody like that, how good is that mix? You know what I mean? Like, you got to think about that shit. How much is Derek Carr going to respect some guy who's never done it when he's making poor decisions? And they're going to go, dude, what are you thinking? Because he's still got to make the decisions. He's got to make the mistakes. It happens. Jets Forever wants to fire Middleton. Yep. Once again, the voice of total sense and reason. Who wants to come and have a bunch of New Yorkers be? That's another thing, guys. Don't forget. Like, while we think it's cool sometimes, like we think, we're proud of ourselves. We wait after the stadium, the game, and we yell at people and we think, yeah, that's right, man. We told that to the rest of the world. I want to share something with you guys. The rest of the world doesn't look fondly on that. You know what I mean? Look, and we're who we are. We don't have to apologize for much. We are who we are. It is what it is. But those extreme things, be knowing that you're going to be told to kill yourself. Hey, Liam, in the stadium if you don't do a good job. I mean, it's not necessarily attractive. Now, like has been said, if you make it here, you'll be a legend. Sure thing. I agree 100%. But the problem is few people do. We have one. His name's Joe Namath. Again, you got the Revises of the world. You got Nick Mangold, Curtis Martin. I mean, they're legends as well. But yeah, Peter Lasasso wants Greg Olsen as well. So Up for Debate says he has to be desperate for redemption and has to hate the league. No one would be more motivated to make for some juicy storyline. Maybe you're talking about a specific person. I missed it. John Gruden. Oh, that's it. He's talking about John Gruden. Could you imagine? He's suing the league from what I understand. So John Gruden is suing the NFL for the handling of that whole thing. He's kind of like a witch hunt is what he's saying. I don't know here or there what, the backstory of all that stuff is. But he's suing the NFL. So I don't know if that's even I don't even think that the Jets are entertaining that idea. And he wasn't exactly crushing it in Denver, too. He was doing okay, but he wasn't exactly crushing it. So, all right, let's see what else we got here. So look, well, before we get off the offensive coordinator thing, we'll talk about Nathaniel Hackett, because he's the guy that came up yesterday, that he was on the New York Jets list. Now, Nathaniel Hackett, we were even talking about him in the Beanbagger Discord yesterday, and there's a lot of reason to dislike that hire if that were to happen, that candidate. Obviously his year in Denver was atrocious, right? The offense looked abysmal. Now, people will say that Russell Wilson fell off a cliff and he looked like shit. And you can't make Russell Wilson sail the ball 15 yards over someone's head, right? That's nothing to do with the offensive coordinator. That said, what's going on in there that makes that happen is, whatever. Is he thinking too much? Like, whatever it is, what's going on with the system that makes something like that happen to a guy that up until that point was pretty good. Pretty good, right? Who's going to deny that Russell Wilson was a pretty good quarterback, man? Top 5 for the last dozen years, right? So he goes with Nathaniel Hackett in Denver, and the whole thing implodes. Now, you got to add to that new system, new environment. So there's lots of variables here, but the people that don't like Nathaniel Hackett will point to the games that Russell Wilson played once he was fired. He did better. Again, does Nathaniel Hackett not being on the sideline, did Russell Wilson all of a sudden become more comfortable? Who knows? But there's a lot of reason not to like him. That said, he's got experience too, but it's not all the best experience, right? So he has really one claim to fame. And Jets Cub, I see you there. You're up next. I'm just going to put this up real fast. Now, when you look over his offenses over the years, let me make sure this is it. How does this look? Okay, now we won't dissect this, but he's been the offensive coordinator for 3 teams. The Green Bay years aren't on this. The Green Bay, he was with Aaron Rodgers, and but he did a great job, and supposedly Aaron Rodgers loves him, right? That's the word on the street, is that Aaron Rodgers loves this guy. So whatever that means. But you look and let's just look at the overall offense, right? Where is it? Let's see. Yeah, so the rushing offense. So his overall offense, 16th. 14th, 11th, and then in Jacksonville, he's got 2nd. Now, that's his real claim to fame. He's the guy who was credited with coaching Blake Bortles to that 35 touchdown season, right? That's largely considered the brilliance of Nathaniel Hackett. He made Blake Bortles look really good. But you can see there's a focus on rushing here, top number 1 in the league, rushing attempts, yards, 2nd in touchdowns. And then the passing, a little bit different, right? 21st, 17th, 20th in touchdowns, and interceptions are about middle of the pack. But you can see, so he's not exactly blowing your doors off with his offensive prowess. That said, he's never at the bottom end of the league. I mean, when he took over Jacksonville, or when he left Jacksonville at the end, looked like they were slipping. But he did a good job from year 1 to year 2, for sure. And again, 22 is not exactly what you want, but especially when you're comparing it to the New York Jets offenses over the years, we have struggled, man. I mean, we have been damn near the bottom of the league for a long, long time. It's our Achilles heel, mainly because we can't find a friggin' quarterback. No matter what resources we throw at it, we just can't seem to figure it out. Sam Darnold, Whether it's Sanchez, the 5th overall pick, 2nd round pick, and Geno and Hackenberg, you get a 4th round quarterback and Bryce Petty. We love him. And then you do your 3rd overall pick and you do that. And then you do 2nd overall pick and you do that. Then you get a 5th round pick from Dallas and Mike White. And you do that. Then you bring in Flacco. Like, it doesn't matter what we do. We just can't seem to get the quarterback position right. Now, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that with our offensive coordinators. I mean, for the past, let's see, we got LaFleur for 2 years, him and Calabrese, right? So who the frig is Rob Calabrese, really? They seem to like him. That's great. But who is he? Why is he the guy tasked with developing a quarterback? So before that, we didn't even hire a quarterback coach for 3 straight years. 3 straight years. Sam Darnold's whole career, he never had a quarterback coach with the Jets. Never, not once. And the offensive coordinators were like pulled off the street, like just crazy. So when you look at it, it's very easy to see. Of course, we had hope that these guys would be able to do something. Of course, we're rooting. We're hoping that Jeremy Bates could find his inner greatness. Of course. But when you look at it with an objective lens, it's highly unlikely. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, well, this guy just came off the street. He was retired. And we didn't hire a quarterback coach. Why don't you hire a quarterback coach? Because you don't want your voice to be challenged. That's the only reason you wouldn't do it, in my opinion. Like Adam Gase didn't bring in a quarterback coach or a real offensive coordinator because he wanted to be the only voice in the room. He doesn't want to be challenged by somebody else that knows what the hell they're talking about. You know what I mean? And that's bad. So when you look at it, it's not hard to identify why the Jets have struggled with quarterbacks. I mean, Sam Darnold goes to Andy Reid, or Zach Wilson goes to the Eagles. You know what I mean? Like, probably different story, guys. I'm going to be real straight. With you guys. So let's get to now. Nathaniel Hackett has a positive that comes along with him. And that is that the idea is that he could bring in Rodgers. He would be attractive for Aaron Rodgers. So when Aaron Rodgers, if they are going to move on from him, which is not firm yet, guys, let's be real here. There's they have an MVP level quarterback, and the idea that they're just going to move on from him, it's not necessarily in stone. Now, he has been on record as saying, hey, if you're rebuilding, I want out. I have no interest in being a part of a rebuild. I want the team to have some ability to get me to the Super Bowl. That's why I'm playing. So that said, Green Bay might not be what he wants. So let's say hypothetically they are going to move on from him. If Nathaniel Hackett is here, Aaron Rodgers already knows I can work with that guy. We work very well together. We had an MVP season together, or maybe it was even 2. And we did great things. So that would be attractive. So you put Nathaniel Hackett, and then you get Garrett Wilson. Then you start stacking up the positives, and they start to have some weight. Like Jets Cub fan is saying, let's bring in Rodgers and let him call his own plays. Who is the last quarterback to do that? Been a while. Well, Peyton Manning, as we know, did that. Right, Jets Cub? But that's a great point. So even if it is Nathaniel Hackett, I mean, Aaron Rodgers was notorious for overriding the coach's calls and all kinds of, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he sees. He knows what he's doing. He's one of the all-time greats. He's definitely going to the Hall of Fame. Whenever his career is over, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, we know all that. So if you get a guy in here that already knows that dynamic, think about this. You get Aaron Rodgers and you bring in Nick Caley, who's trying to make a name for himself. What do you see happening? What I see happening? Him trying to make sure Aaron Rodgers knows he's his boss. That's what I see, man. And it's like, please don't waste my time. Please. Like, we've been through this stuff. If you're going to go out there and get a good vet quarterback, he's going to have a certain amount of clout with him. With that said, you got to bring in somebody with a certain amount of experience that understands not only what to see and do, but how to work with a guy like that. Whether it's Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, even Gardner Minshew. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are coming in. They've been around. Minshew, not so much, but yeah, I mean, dude, I'll tell you what, Jets Cub. if the Jets just decided to bring in, like, let's say they did, they went and got Nick Caley and they let him hire an offensive line coach and they just brought in Aaron Rodgers and said, look, Nick Caley's here to help Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers runs the offense. Would you hate it? I'd be like, all right, cool. Cool. Right? I'd do it. I'm telling you, I would. Just do it, man. Let's take care of the defense and the special teams, and we'll get them lots of weapons, and we'll protect them. And you let Aaron Rodgers go out there and be Aaron Rodgers. I'm in. I'm with you here, O'Leary. Good morning, Matt. Matt's out on Gruden. That's what I'm saying. I said it in a nice way, but what I'm saying is no. Again, dude. Drama, we're dramatic anyway. You bring in John Gruden, and that pulls in the national attention. The national media is here. You know what I mean? Every move we make is going to be dissected, and oh man. Jets Forever says we haven't interviewed a good coach yet. I agree. And that might mean, not to say these guys might not be good in the future. Right? We don't know. But that all they've gotten in was the Eagles quarterback coach, right? Or passing game coordinator and Nick Caley. That's it, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Let's see what else we got here. So, yeah, it's going to be – so that's the positive with Nathaniel Hackett is the idea that he could be attractive for Aaron Rodgers. Now, you got to know that you got a good chance of getting Aaron Rodgers, though, too. But I don't think Nathaniel Hackett would be the worst hire. I mean, again, he's been through a lot of things. He's seen a lot of things. He's been through a lot of different quarterbacks, different experience. He's run teams. He even has that head coaching stint. You don't think he learned a few lessons last year? Justin Jets, let me tell you something. If Greg Roman was fired from the Ravens, I would literally beat a path to his door. That's me. But again, 2 years ago, Greg Roman was the guy I wanted them to interview for head coach. He was my number one, along with Matt Campbell from Iowa State and Fitzgerald from Northwestern, and then Dable. Those were my guys. You know what I mean? That was my list. They interviewed one of them on my list. So, Dable obviously looks pretty good right now. That's right. That's exactly my point. That's the point I was making. He's created different offenses for completely different quarterbacks. Alex Smith, Tyrod Taylor, like Lamar Jackson, Joe Flacco. Like he no matter what the quarterback is, he creates a successful offense for them. Now, everybody, he was under fire last year for a couple of weeks. They turned that around. Everybody's going to have their dips. I think Greg Roman would be. I mean, why would they fire him? I don't know. D-Mars, you don't like the way I say Nathaniel Hackett? What do you want it? Nathaniel? What's the right way? Nathaniel, bro. I know what I'm saying. Nathaniel Hackett, yo. Franco says, this offensive coordinator job is so unappealing. It's kind of a bummer. Never should have let LaFleur go without a plan. Well, I mean, they might have one. Like, look, in Joe we trust, right? Until there's a real reason not to trust Joe Douglas. I mean, look, everybody's going to make mistakes. And of course I think he's done more than enough to believe that he's got a plan right now. Whether the plan works or not, we don't know. We're going to see. We might just be hiring a first timer because that's the only guy we can get. Yeah, well, Van Roten, he's not exactly lighting the world up over there. He's adequate, but again, he's surrounded with he's being injected into a system that's already well oiled and run. You know what I mean? It's very, very different, guys. We were looking for Van Roten to be a part of that initial kind of install, and he couldn't do it. Now, just being the one piece, the one new thing, yeah, sure. But he's not exactly great. As a matter of fact, I saw a couple plays where he got completely run over. But he's doing better there than he is. But he's not exactly, top of the heap or anything. I know George Thomas waiting for Greg Olson. All right. So Nathaniel. Why would you say Nathaniel? There's an A there. Come on, EF. Get with it. See, I'm a sound it out kind of guy. I'm phonetic, man. You know what I mean? It's like people who say his height is 7 foot tall. Height? I don't get it. How do you do that? The T is the final letter, not TH. Height. I've been hearing that a lot lately. I don't think it's new. I think a lot of people are thinking that's the way to say it. Height. What's your weight and height? Like Nathaniel. I get if you're saying it quick, EF, I get it. But Nathaniel Hackett, N-A, Nathaniel. That's where the inflection is. And this is definitely not a place I want to draw my battle lines or anything. Anyway, so as long as if I give you a little tickle with it, then good. Matthias Simon, good morning, Matt. He says, the fear of ending up with almost nothing is frightening, and that would be Jets. I mean, right, dude, guys, look, our history says that we're going to have to find the diamond in the rough because the clear diamonds don't want to come here, and they're for good reason. And then even when we had something positive, like players playing for Salah and this great defense and there's a lot of positives here, at least now too. 2 years ago, there was nothing. We had the second overall pick. That was what we had. Other than that, we had nothing here. CJ Mosley, who was opted out. You know what I mean? Like that's what we had. Now there's a whole different thing here. But on top of that, there's a bunch of negatives that swirl around this team, and coaches are going to look at it and go, why do I want to go over there and likely fail? You know what I mean? Likely fail. Let's see. Okay, so let's talk about our free agents. Let's do this now. We'll get you guys your primary free agents. I'm going to go over to the poll and see what you guys said. If you didn't get to vote in the poll, give you 5 more seconds. It looks like most of you voted in there, so we can end this thing. So the poll was, who is your prime free agent to re-sign from the New York Jets? So I ended the poll. Of course, there's going to be guys on there. Your guy might not be on there, but that's a pretty good list of some of the top guys. And again, they only give me four slots. So you gotta do what you can do with it. All right. So the poll says, let me see what the poll says. So 73% is Huff. 73% is Huff. Quincy Williams followed that with 20%. Quan Alexander with 4%. And what an interesting shift. Last year, I know I saw that twisted. I don't know why I'm lagging. I just saw that. Is the voice still not lagging? It's just this computer, dude. I can't wait to get mine back from Apple any day. This computer is having a hard time. It's a MacBook, but it's not quite the RAM. I don't have enough RAM on this thing to handle everything. I'll shut down a few things too. But thank you for telling me that. I saw that. I was just thinking, what the hell? That's where my mind went for a second. You see, I was kind of spacey for a second there. I was thinking, what am I lagging for? Shut that down. There's really nothing running, but it is what it is. Could shut a few things down. So anyway, Fant last year, people were furious, livid. Thank you, Twisted. That Joe Douglas didn't re-sign Fant long-term. Right? A significant portion of Jets fans were angry. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. While I wasn't angry, I was disappointed. I thought that he should have been re-signed. That's what I thought. Now, if he's asking for number 1 left tackle money and all, well, then you can't do it, right? Okay. Because you're not a number 1 left tackle. He played well that year. He was among the top tackles in the NFL that year, but it's 1 year. You can't give somebody the top contract in the NFL after 1 year. You give him a good contract. So if he was saying no to that, and I don't know what they offered, but let's assume it was a good contract, and he was saying no. This year took Fant and changed the narrative about him. right? Just like last year with Marcus May. Remember, Joe Douglas held firm on Marcus May and said, look, I got you under contract with the franchises, and I can have you for 2 more years. I'm willing to offer you this to give you job security. He said no. His agent dragged us through the mud, called us the worst GM in the world, blah, 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 blah. I'll never work with that guy again, blah, blah, blah. Marcus May got hurt. He went on to the free agent market and literally got less than Joe Douglas was offering. Matter of fact, over the length of the contract, I think it's $9 million that his agent lost him. $9 million, dude. So, you gotta look. You can take it with a grain of salt, and there's going to be hits and misses. But you got to appreciate Joe Douglas and how he holds firm on that shit, man. He's not going to be baited and goaded into these bad decisions. Like Fant, again, Joe Douglas has said on more than one occasion, he's aggressive when he wants to be aggressive. When I see the need to be aggressive, I'm aggressive. But I will not go into reckless. Won't do it. Now, I'm sure he has the urge to. He almost did last year with Tyreek Hill. That was one of the places where he said it. He said we were very aggressive, but it was borderlining on reckless. And that's we had to put our cutoff. I'm not willing to give another this, or I'm not willing to pay another that. I'm not. I want you. I put a very, very strong offer up there. If they're going to offer you more, then let them offer you more. You know what I mean? So with George Fant, like, again, it already worked with Marcus May, and I loved Marcus May, the player. But then we found out that he was DUI shit, Bellinger. There was all sorts of backstory that the Jets weren't told about. And again, we found all this stuff out. But then in hindsight, you look at Joe Douglas and Marcus May, dude, it was a huge mistake on the part of his camp. Now with George Fant, he played left tackle. He was given the starting left tackle position. They moved back into the right side. He played 3 weeks. He was miserable. Turned out it was because he was injured. He was out, 2/3 of the season or something like that. Then he comes back in and he plays right tackle. He played really well the first game. Second game, not as well. And then he played good. He wasn't great, but he was good, right? The rest of the season. And now it's like, okay, well, what are you? Now you're a 30. Well, Fanta's not young, guys. Let me see here. He's not old, but all right. So I'll bring this up and we'll take a look. But the Fant thing is really interesting to see you guys all the way on the bottom. A lot of you looks like that. Maybe we're not wanting to bring him back. And who knows? Maybe the Jets feel the same way. What happened here? Did I close that? Oh, Bean, come on. What am I doing here? Here it is. This better be it. Let me see. Yep. Okay. I got it for you guys. Just took a second. All right. So here's our list. Now you look at George Fant. He's 31 years old. He's going to be 32 next year. Right? And I'll take this banner off for you guys so you can see. Randy Yaws. I had to put this up there real quick. Yes. My sentiment, my feelings exactly, Randy. You did it perfect. That's what he can do. I love it. There's another one. Take that, Daryl Bevel. So again, man, so we'll talk about these free agents. Now, you guys picked Bryce Huff as the number one free agent on that list to re-sign. He's our primary free agent. Now let's look at where he is down here. Here he is. So Bryce Huff is 25 years old. He made $766,000 this year. So Bryce Huff, they're looking at him as a situational pass rusher. Now, he is exceptional at that. Here's why I think that they might not want to give him full-time player money. As important as he is, and as much as they more than likely want him back, his main move is that burst, is that step to the outside. That's what he has. That's what he's got. And he's relentless and all those things. Those types of players, when they're in there on running downs, they get exploited. When that's their main move, is that first step to the outside, they get exploited. They're very easy to push out for running lanes, right? So that probably has something to do with it. Now, I really hope that he feels that they're giving him what is representative of his value, his worth. If he realizes that, hey, I'm really not that good at the run, but I'm really good at this, I'm gonna make sure I know where my bread is buttered, and they give him a good contract for that position, I would love to have him back. My fear is that somebody else is going to come in and say, oh my God, I'll give him full-time duty. I don't care. He looks great. What a great young player. And they're willing to experiment with that. Maybe some team that doesn't have the defensive line depth that we have. Even if we do let Carl Lawson and Sheldon Rankins and whoever go, we still have a good group of guys. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see. Now, George Fant, arguably, like we were talking about before, he's listed as a left tackle. He played 46% of the snaps at the end of the year. So he missed just a little bit over half of the season at that, by the end of the year. Again, 32 years old. He made $9 million this year. What is Fant worth? Are you willing to count on him? Are you willing to give him upper tackle money and put him in the rotation? Or are you thinking that he's more like, hey, we want you, but we want to bring in a real premier starter, like from the draft or something. And we want you to be we want you to battle it out with Mackay for the other spot. Whoever wins, plays. And then the other guy's swing tackle. What are they going to think there? So that's going to be real interesting with Fant. Really, really interesting. All right, JR. See, I'm a thinker. I'm thinking. We're thinking about stuff over here. Don't forget Blues' second pick in the first round. Yeah, sure. Of course. You got to factor that in. But if that's where you're hanging, if you're going to hang your hat on the draft, dude, especially those last two drafts, I mean, yes, you can say that. That's looking like that's very accurate. But you're alleviating just boatloads of hits in order to make that your main point. Right alongside of him was the other first round pick in that draft. AVT looks like a perennial all-pro. If he didn't hurt his friggin' elbow this year, he was going to be an all-pro. You know what I mean? So look, I'm going to tell you this again. When you look over the last 15 years or the last 15 top 5 quarterbacks, the picks that were taken, the top 5 picks, the quarterbacks. Did I say that right? Let me re-say that. The quarterbacks who were taken in the top 5 picks the last 15 years, 4 out of 15 hit. 4. The other 11 are disappointing. Maybe they're carving out careers, but definitely not hitting the top 5 expectation. So again, that's really hard to do. Now, me personally, I don't think you should have fucking took him in the first place. I didn't like him, but that is what it is. They liked him. They took him. And Greg Knapp died in the whole thing and the whole plan. They didn't do a good job with Zach. You can't argue otherwise. But let's say he's just a miss and you put that solely on Joe Douglas. Are you going to forget the rest of the 2 drafts when he's finding guys starters in the 5th round, 6th round, 4th round, all over the place? I mean, there's like literally the last draft, we have literally all pros coming out of it. It's like, I don't know, man. It's hard to hit on the draft. When you look over the last 2 years, Joe Douglas's hits versus misses are among the best in the NFL. You can't say otherwise. So again, if you want to focus on that, you can. It's a big one. It's very, very important. And we don't know if he could pick quarterbacks. He only picked one. You know what I mean? We don't know. So who else on this list? You just want to, so Derek Carr says Fant is gone. Well, you don't want Derek Carr? Or you don't want Fant if you come here, Derek? Oh, you prefer Dwayne Brown. I don't know, dude. Dwayne Brown was spotty. He had his moments, but he was spotty at best. Oh, my God. You know how scary that is? Well, I guess if you add a draft, you add a tackle draft pick, that would be good. But Dwayne Brown, Mackay, I mean, look, Dwayne Brown's under contract. If he wants to come back, we're paying him. He's going to be here. So if you have Dwayne Brown, you got Mackay back and coming back, and you use a top pick on a tackle, I mean, you're kind of good. You have Max Mitchell coming back. You got Connor McDermott. You got Connor McDermott in there. Yeah. The real ruck. That's the thing. Most top quarterbacks are bust. Now, it sucks that it's us. Don't get me wrong, dude. I hate it. I hate that Zach Wilson looks like a complete bust. And sad to say, he even looks worse than Sam. And I thought I was like, this is the bottom. We've hit the bottom floor with quarterback play. I couldn't believe how bad Sam Darnold looked. I just couldn't believe it. Now, and I gave him the no quarterback coach thing. I gave him the worst offensive lines in the league. With that, he was still unbelievably bad. I couldn't believe it. And Zach is worse. Whatever the reasons are, say what you want. Just without emotions involved, just look at what you're seeing. I have never, in my 40 years of obsessively watching and playing football, I have never seen a quarterback do what Zach Wilson does, running behind I've never seen it, man. It made me nuts, and I was still supporting him. I still wanted him to play. I couldn't believe what we were seeing, dude. It's like, who does that? You know what I mean? So come on, guys. You just got to fucking be real here. Jets Maniac Matt checking in. What's up, Matt? Let's prepare ourselves to hire Hackett. He's going to contact Rodgers and tell him we'll run our own designed offense, his own line coach and wide receiver. Right, dude. Just call it. That's the positive, Matt. I would be very psyched for that. Let's say we hire Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett, right? We're going to hire him. And we bring in, and you just tell him, dude, just come over here. We're going to pick whoever you want as the offensive line coach. We're going to use the first round pick on a tackle. You got plenty of fucking receivers over here. We're going to get another center in the third. Like, we're going to load you up, dude. Our defense is already stout. We're going to add a free safety to that. And you know what I mean? We're going to load up. And we can pick our own offensive line coach, our own wide receivers coach, whoever you want. You want to go get Sterling Sharp and bring him in? Old Packer great, bring him in. You know what I mean? If Cobb retired, bring him in as wide receiver. We don't care. Whatever you want, Aaron. Whatever you want. See, I like it. I like it. So Joe Campione says, trade the 13th pick for Love and their left tackle. Bakhtiari, isn't that Bakhtiari? Right? Let me see. Packers depth chart. Let me just make sure here. Let me just look and see if I have it right. It's hard to keep track of where everybody is. Let me see. Yeah, Bakhtiari. They got Elton Jenkins at guard. I loved him coming out, dude. I loved Jenkins coming out. Josh Myers. Yeah, look at all these guys. Oh, man. It's just so weird, right? Like when we obsess about the draft like we do, and you see all these guys and you just love guys. And then, like, you know, they feather into the NFL. And you keep track of some and you lose track. And then like 4 years later, 5 years later, you just realize like one of your guys that you were like, oh, we need this guy. And then you see him and he's like an all pro for some NFC team. And you're like, damn it. And the pick we took sucks. You know what I mean? Oh man, it's been driving me batty for years. Jets forever. I only entertain this to remind everybody just how insane you really are. That's why. Jingle facts. What's up? We do miss on quarterbacks. Well, that's it too. I mean, look, the buck does stop with JD. And the thing is, man, you know, he has a staff around him. He's got Chad Alexander, who is very well thought of, also came from the Ravens, by the way, groomed in the same way, stayed with the Ravens for 4 more years, I think it was, than Joe Douglas. So he's come down. You got Phil Savage, who's been a GM in the league. I mean, he's a stud, dude. As far as, he ran the Senior Bowl for 15 years or whatever it was, 10 years. Like, the guy knows his stuff. You get Rex Hogan. And you got this staff. Then you bring in Saleh and you bring in Greg Knapp and John Benton and all these guys. And they all looked at Zach Wilson and they fell in love with him. I'm telling you, man, I would be willing to bet Greg Knapp said, give me that kid. I'll make him the best quarterback in the NFL. He's got everything I need. When Greg Knapp passed away, they were left with Calabrese and LaFleur. And again, they brought in Matt Cavanaugh, which I think was a great move, but clearly Matt Cavanaugh was here. He was just, all right, I'll come in and help you for 1 year with your situation. Terrible, sad situation. I'll come and help. But he's still retired, right? He didn't go back and get another job. He was just came out of retirement for a year to help us. I think he did a good job overall, but yeah, so Real Ruck, Rogers wants Bakhtiari. But Joe brings up a good point. I mean, would you trade number 13 for Jordan Love and just an amazing, very, very good left tackle? Would you do it? Jordan Love is a huge question mark. Huge question mark. But is he a bigger question mark than any of these kids coming out? I mean, he's done. Think about this. Jordan Love has been afforded very rare opportunity these days to be a first-round draft pick quarterback and sit for 3 years behind one of the all-time greats on a respected offensive minds team. I mean, what better? Really? I don't recall liking Jordan Love all that much coming out, but admittedly, I didn't really dig into him too much. We weren't looking at quarterbacks. Steve, what's your deal today, dude? Why are you bringing up the 5 players that the Jets let go that actually did something in the NFL? I mean, you're bringing up literally like the only 5 guys. Like, fucking find more, dude. How's Sam Darnold doing? We let him go. I mean, how's Jamal Adams? How's he doing? You know what I mean? Like, you can very easily cherry pick this stuff. We loved Fatukasi. You can't keep everybody, dude. You can't keep everybody. Frankie Louvu? Give me a break. You know what I mean? Like, dude, Frankie Louvu was a special teamer. Who cares? He made good. Great. It's 3 years later. Took him 3 years. He was okay last year. He's still kind of to me. I watched the whole thing on him 2 weeks ago. Somebody was putting Frankie Louvu in my face. He's fine. It's fine. Gets a bunch of tackles. Yeah, it's fine. It's good. Good for him. But like, you're bringing up all these players. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? It'd be one thing if we didn't get dominant D-line play this year. You know what I mean? If we sucked, you know what I mean? We had a fucking great D-line, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You can't keep everybody, dude. If Fatukasi was your guy, and I feel for you. But what's the story? What are you doing? That's what we do. We go around and we look at all the places I can be hurt. What is that? I don't care. I want to focus on the guys we have. You know what I mean? See what we can do. Now, I'll tell you what, Steve, let's do this. Which one of these guys on the list I have up there for you, tell us now, not in hindsight, tell us now which one of those guys is the guy not to lose. No, that's going to be the next Frankie Louvu. Which one in 3 years? Which one? Like, we can all do that. It's very easy. And again, dude, there's not a lot of players out there. Most of the guys the Jets let go are bums. Remember Blesson Austin? How Jetnation went nuts when they cut him? Remember, who was it? I think it was our buddy Connor Hughes. He said, I think it was, no. It wasn't Connor. It was DJ Bienemy. Oh, not Bienemy. Yeah, Bienemy, right? Isn't that his name? I forget. The guy. He was with the Daily News for 5 minutes. He said he had the Jets at a this win team when we let Blesson Austin go. He had us like 3 extra losses or something weird like that. Just from Blesson Austin. Blesson Austin is out of the league. Okay? Like, so it's very easy to cherry pick the 3 or 4 guys that actually did something, but most of the guys, look, my affinity toward LaMichael Pirine. LaMichael Pirine got 31 yards last year, dude. 31 yards. Who cares, right? He's done. And now who knows? In 3 years, he might stick around and end up being something great. Great. What's up, Jennifer? Here you are. I was worried. I'm not patronizing. Steve, here's the thing. I am actually an extremely objective guy. If you think I'm on any one side, you're high. I look at what I see. When I see enough in one side, I go to that side. That's what it is. That's what it is. I think JD is without question the best general manager we've ever had here. And that's only in the short time that we've had him. He's already better than any general manager that we've ever had. If you want to argue with me about that, then bring up the statistics. Come on. I could do it off memory, man. Let's bring it up. Bring up all the great shit that we've had up until Joe Douglas, who's actually in the process of doing a good job changing this team around. Sure, he missed on Zach. Big, huge whiff. Terrible. Sets us back. Sets us back. So what? So, yeah, I want a defensive tackle in the draft. It happens constantly. Every year you're going to have players and positions that you want in the draft. One guy makes it, one guy doesn't, one guy leaves. Dude, you want a team that good players are leaving. That's what you want. You want a team that the guys coming up can actually fill the role. Pipeline. That's what we're starting to develop here. If you don't want to give that time and you can't see it, then I can't help you. I don't know. I'm not going to, it's like, what am I going to do? There are so many positives to stack against the handful of negatives. Now, the negatives are big. I'll give you that. But again, if you're going to argue with me that Joe Douglas is not the best general manager that we've had ever, then I'm willing to have that debate. I'll have you on. We'll spend 5 hours on it. We'll go through every single player, every pick in Jets history, if you'd like. Let's talk Jets, guys, says Jade. Well, that's Tyson in primetime. Let me just say this. As much as I love those guys, and I sincerely do, Primetime lost his mind when we traded Jamal. It was a complete meltdown. Okay? So just remind you of that. And I love those guys. So I don't always agree with O'Leary. You hear us battle it out. I don't always agree with Ryan. You hear us battle it out. The interesting thing is, and everybody will tell you this, I'm always right. Always. 96% of the time for the last 40 years, I've been right. That's what I'll tell you. And that's what you get when you tune into GreenBean Jets Fan. That's right. That's right. I like that, Hepburn. That's the thing. Look, I honestly believe that the Jets are trying to get the offensive coordinator and quarterback situation to make sense. Again, you cannot hire, in my opinion, it would be a mistake, and I would say it's a mistake. Because I'm a Joe Douglas homer, I would not defend it. I do not defend moves I don't like, okay, because I'm a homer. Like, if I like a player and he sucks, I'm able to say he sucks. I'm not in the prison cell. Oh, shit, my guy sucked, so I have to find a reason he's great. I don't do that. So if Joe Douglas makes this mistake, it would be a mistake to hire a first-time offensive coordinator and pair him with a vet quarterback. That's my opinion. Especially somebody like a Rodgers or a Lamar Jackson or somebody like that. Derek Carr, maybe. Derek Carr has had 5 offensive coordinators over the past 9 years. So, 4 head coaches, maybe it might even be 6 offensive coordinators, depending on the shuffle inside. But it's like 4, 5, 6 different offensive coordinators in his career. So that guy might be like, whatever. You know what I mean? Maybe. Yeah. Everybody misses on quarterbacks. It hurts when oh my God, it hurts. And you know what really hurts about that pick, Ron? What really hurts is that not only did we use the 2nd overall pick on a quarterback that looks like he's not working, but that was the draft, that there was a team out there, probably more than one, that was willing to do a similar trade, but we weren't willing to do it. There was a team out there, the 49ers, that were willing to give up 3 first pick and the 3rd to move up. And if we would have moved back, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, and all the rest of the guys were still there. Trey Lance would have been there because the Niners would have more than likely taken Zach Wilson, more than likely. So that's what hurts even more. You know what I mean? Like that was the year. Now I get it. You look at that two ways. When you're up that high in the draft, you look at it two ways. One is more than likely we're never going to be this high again for a long time. And there's a reason to believe that. Somebody said to me, the Jets are always that high. The Jets have not been that high since 1997. Okay? That was the highest Jets have been in the draft since 1997. So yes, we've sucked, and I'm with you, but we have not had that high of a draft pick in what is that? 17, I don't know, 25 years, right? So the two ways of looking at it when you are that high is this is the highest I'm ever going to be to have choice of my quarterback, everybody but one, who is the best in the class, by the way. Or you could look at it the other way. I'm never going to be this high. I'm going to get as much value out of this pick as I can, and I'll deal with the quarterback later in the round. The Jets chose to go get their guy, and he's looking like a big fat whiff. But I get it. Like I said, I didn't love the pick, man. And I said it 1,000 times before the draft. That said, I wasn't against the pick, and I understood it, and I forced myself to do this when we drafted him. I waited a second, went, there it is. It's real. Okay, they got their guy. That's what I did, literally. And Joe Campione agrees with me 98% of the time. So if I'm right 96% of the time, and you agree with me 99% of the time, are we both wrong on that 1%, or is that where you disagree with me, or are we both wrong on 3%? I don't know, Joe. We got to figure this out. Right, Carmelo? I'm with you. I agree with this, Steve. And that's the thing. He turned the only saving grace there is that he turned down the Commanders as well. So those are the only teams that asked him for an interview, and he turned them down. So it could just be he's tired of moving. He wants to continue to work where he is. He likes the job. He likes McDaniel. He likes Tua. He just wants to continue. I don't need it. I'm getting paid offensive coordinator money. I don't care. I'm fine here. I got Tyreek Hill. I got Jalen Waddle. I got, Mostert. I got all these guys. You know what I mean? So that's the good news. Now, if he goes and accepts, the Steelers job, or if they fire their guy, Canada, whatever his name is, if they go and do that, if he goes and does that, then I'm going to feel bad. Whoops, I'm going to feel bad. Pretty bad. I am. Jets Cub fan checking back in. Thank you, buddy. He says, am I right in saying if JD brings in Carr or Lamar, Zach is done? Rodgers or Brady, they still try to develop Zach. I'm an old man. It gets confused. Dude, I'm with you there, Jets Cub. Believe me, every year I find myself more muddied. I'm like, wait, what? Who? What is that? How does that? How much is that? That's what I do every year. 10 years ago, I was like, I got everything real crisp. Now I'm all foggy. But I'm still right all the time, Steve Larson. I think that if Carr or Lamar comes in, Zach is done. You want to know my true feelings, Cub fan? I think that Zach is done here. That's what I think. I think they're going to do it. I think he's under contract. You can't get out of it. If Joe Douglas can find a trade partner, he's going to take it. That's what I think. That said, I don't think he's going to find one. Now, here's what I'm hoping. Now, if we hire Nathaniel Hackett, I'm hoping we get Rodgers and that whole thing, right? But I think more realistically, we hire an offensive coordinator, and Josh McDaniels out there, who's an idiot, by the way. We know this, okay? He's been very blessed in his career, all right? When he leaves that nest, he looks like a complete shit show. He's a horror scene, this guy. So I think that he's going to try to get something for Derek Carr. He has that window, right? He has that window. Now, they could pass the window and just guarantee him the money, and then the next team that trades with them has to pay it. I get it. But I do believe they're going to try to squeeze it out of this window, because then there's going to be something, there will be less that they're on the hook for. If they are, the offers might not be better than like a young quarterback that, hey, we had bad offensive, play call. It's not him. You like them coming out in the draft. So we might be able to give them like Zach Wilson and a pick for Derek Carr, and they might take it. I think highly likely. I do. But I think it's possible. And that would make me real happy. That'd make me real happy. So, all right. With that said, we'll see how it goes. But that's gonna do it for our show today. Let's see what else you got. Yeah, this is kind of the same stuff. Okay. Oh, Wyatt popped in. Good morning, Wyatt. Good morning, Wild Wave. All right, but that's going to do it for today. Rich is going to close us out with, we need to sign an offensive coordinator soon. I firmly agree with that sentiment. I think that is very, very important. Guys, have a great rest of the day. I hope and wish you positivity in Jets land, and I hope that the rest of your life is more positive than the Jets have been able to provide us. So go ahead and have yourself a wonderful day. With that all said, I will see you tonight for the Thursday Thick of It, 8 p.m. We got Jake Assman coming on with us tonight. It'll be a good time, as it always is. I look forward to seeing you there. Have a great day, everybody.
I love Jets fans. You name one other organization that deals with the shit that we deal with and is still this passionate. Sure, you got the little segments, the dog pound. But look at the Patriots fans. They just had 20 years of there are kids, there are 20, 21-year-old, 25-year-old people in this world that are Patriots fans who have never known losing. Never in their entire lifetime. They were born into this Belichick-Brady thing, and they have consistently won. They've won 6 Super Bowls. They've been to 9 or whatever it is. And then when they didn't get in there, they were the AFC Championship game or the semifinals or whatever. And what happens the year that Tom Brady leaves? Dude, you have droves of people leaving the Patriots. These are diehard Pats fans. This is what they have. Diehard Pats fans going to be Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. Why? Because I'm a fucking fan of Tom Brady. Bullshit. What is that?